Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another Brawl Stars video. Hope you all are doing well. This is going to be the June Championship Challenge guide for Brawl Stars. We're going to go over all the maps and the best teams for each of them. If you don't have any teammates for the challenge and you want to find some people who are willing to play with you, you can always try looking by joining my clan. Right here is the clan tag and name. But with that being said, let's get started. So the first map is for Gem Grab, and it is Minecart Madness, which is the most annoying map they could have picked for this mode. The minecarts obviously deal insane damage when you get hit by them, so that is something you really need to focus on avoiding, but you can also use it to your advantage by waiting for a minecart to go on your opponent's side and then start advancing towards them, pressuring them towards the railroad tracks as the minecart is about to come, so that way if they go back, they're going to get killed, so then they can't go back, so then you get close to them and are able to kill them. You can also approach your opponents pretty easily by using the walls and just trying to get close to them and dodging their attacks by hiding behind those walls and in the grass. So because of that, close range brawlers are going to be pretty effective on this map. If you take a look at these 5 comps right here that I suggest, you can see there's a lot of Jackie and a lot of Rosa, and that's just like I said, it's super easy to get close to people on this map by using the minecarts and by using the walls, and Jackie and Rosa are the best at taking advantage of that close range. You also got Gene in there for just overall control and for healing with his Magic Puffs star power. A lot of comps also run Poco with his Da Capo star power, just an insane amount of healing, especially with his gadget. It's super easy to just go in with a Rosa or a Jackie on your opponent's carrier who has all the gems. Just go super aggro on them, get all their gems, and get back out and not die at all because you've got so much HP. You've got shield with Rosa's super and Jackie's super as well, and you've got the healing from Poco. So all together, it works really well to help you pull off some wins in this map. Map 2 is Penalty Kick for Brawl Ball. Now, personally, this is one of my least favorite maps for Brawl Ball just because there are so many weirdly placed walls and always feels so tight and cramped, and the spaces are really small and hard to walk around in. So brawlers that are going to be good on this map are ones that thrive in that sort of environment, that are great with a lot of walls. So obviously Rico is going to be very good because he can just bounce his attacks off walls with that super bouncy star power. He gains 100 damage to each of his bullets that hit the wall, so he's going to be dealing an insane amount of damage if you're targeting people with that ricochet attack, and he can stay back and not get damage at the same time. Sprout is also going to be very good here. All the gaps on this map are super small, so it's really easy to fill them in completely with Sprout super and completely block off areas of the map. Maybe right before you're about to score a goal, you can throw Sprout super in front of your opponents and block them from stopping your goal. There's lots of potential with Sprout, and that's why he's so good on this map and basically every map. Honestly, Sprout is a very, very good choice for this challenge. BB is also up there in some of the top comps. Her batting stance star power lets her survive a lot longer, and she just has great movement speed and can win a lot of 1v1 matchups. Same thing with El Primo. His Meteor Rush star power is extremely useful, and you can use your super, go straight on that one long wall blocking your opponent's goal. Then when it's broken and it's open, then you can literally just take the ball and throw it straight to the goal. Mr. P also with all the walls, a very, very good choice. You're going to be hitting people behind walls, and that is the best possible scenario because you can hit them and they most likely cannot hit you. So moving on, map 3 is a new map, Crossroads for Heist. So this map is pretty unique because there's very limited range of movement. You basically always have to go to your opponent's safe through the left side. You can sometimes go through the right side, but it's a lot more open there and you're a lot more vulnerable to getting hit by attacks. But there's basically that one lane to go down, or you can go all the way around on the side, but that's a super long path, so a lot of times people don't go that way. But with that one lane, there's not a lot of room to dodge attacks. So you want to take advantage of that by running brawlers like Brock and Colt. You see they show up in almost all of the comps, and that's just because they're so good for constantly attacking in that singular lane where your opponent doesn't have room to move back and forth and dodge those attacks. And because they have such high damage output, they're just going to shred your opponents if they try to get close to your safe. And once they do get on the safe, they also can use that high DPS to melt the safe as well. And as support for those sorts of brawlers, you can always run Nita with her Hyper Bear, dealing an insane amount of damage if you can get it off on the safe. But without the super, make sure you are staying back and defending with Nita, because otherwise you deal like no damage, but you are pretty good on defense. So Nita's, make sure you stay back and defend. Barley is also another good option just for Heist in general. You can stand behind that puddle of water and just throw your attacks, healing up with medical use if anyone is trying to shoot at you. And you can also use your gadget to completely block off one of those two lanes that your opponents are trying to get towards. Max is another high DPS brawler, and her super can be useful sometimes just to dodge your opponent's attacks as quickly as possible and maybe even go the long way around to the safe, because with that boosted speed you might be able to do that in a reasonable amount of time. And then for the fourth map we have Olive Branch, another new map for Siege this time. And if you've played Siege recently, you know that these new maps are really interesting because they sort of divide the center of the map into 3 separate lanes, and it's very hard to maneuver between the lanes. You can see there's 2 gaps there, but they're very tight and hard to get through efficiently without wasting a lot of time and while still dodging attacks from your opponent's throwers. So most of the time on this map you just want to stay in your lane and try to keep your opponent from getting bolts in your lane, push them back, and if you can kill the person in your lane, it gives you a huge advantage, because then if you're a thrower you can just start lobbing attacks to help someone in their own lane, and then it's going to be a 2 versus 1 in that lane, and you're just going to have a huge advantage and be able to take them out, and then the advantages just keep rolling, and then you just kill everyone on the opposing team. It happens a lot like that, and even if you're not a thrower, you can always walk to help out one of your teammates in a lane if you've already killed the person in your lane. So lots of good ways to play this map. But in terms of the best comps, I would say that a thrower is really necessary for this map. With 3 separate lanes, it's going to be very, very useful to be able to throw over those walls and help out your teammate once in a while without having to take the time to really walk through the gaps and give up that control of the lane that you were originally in. So once again, Sprout is a super good option for this, and even though Overgrowth is a really, really good star power, I would actually prefer Photosynthesis on this map simply because it's super easy to keep that shield up the entire match with the sheer amount of grass that's in any one of the lanes, and just a 30% shield for the entire match feels so good, especially since you're going to be 1v1ing in your own lane a lot of the time. That extra shield just helps you stay alive for a bit longer, so a Sprout is definitely a really good option. Tick and Barley are other great throwers. Tick with his well-oiled star power, it's not a shield like Sprout, but that 2 seconds shaves off of every time you're healing adds up significantly over time, and it's going to make it a lot easier for you to stay in battle and not have to retreat for a really long amount of time whenever your opponent just deals a bit of damage to you. And then I haven't even mentioned this yet, but Penny, you can see, appears in 4 out of these 5 comps that I'm recommending here, and that just because she provides insane area control with her Balls of Fire star power, obviously paired with her super, that splash damage, that ring of fire that spawns whenever one of her cannon shots hit the ground, is just so huge for blocking off your opponents from standing in a certain area. They basically have to be constantly moving, and when they're squished into one tiny little lane, there's already like nowhere for them to move, so they're either going to die because they're taking insane damage from the super and the star power, or they're just forced to retreat back into their own zone away from the cannon, and that's great for you because then you can take all the bolts and just win the game from there. And then finally we have Bounty Last, which is different from any of the previous challenges, and the map, once again a new one, is Heatwave. This map's super unique in terms of bounty maps, not just because it's super cool to look at, but also because it's really easy to get behind the enemy, and a lot of bounty maps don't really allow you to do that. But you can see those giant L-shaped patches of grass on the very left and very right of the maps. It starts on your side but ends on your opponent's side, so if you start the match and go on the left, enter that patch of grass, you can get behind your opponents if they're close to the center without them even knowing. And that makes the game a lot more interesting because you're not just looking in front of you and beside you for attackers, you might have to look behind you. So always be wary of that patch of grass because people could just be hiding there and you might not even know it because they might not have been on your screen when they actually walked into that patch of grass. So just be extra cautious on this map. So maybe just stand in that patch of grass yourself just so you can keep watching that and make sure no opponent gets behind you and you can keep that advantage, keep them pushed back on their side of the map. In terms of the best comps, there's a lot of different variety here. Obviously, Sprout's really good because there's a lot of walls he can hit over them. Same with Mr. P. Hitting over those walls is a very huge plus on this map when there are so many just randomly thrown about the map. A lot of long-range brawlers are going to be good on this map just so that you don't have to get up close to your opponents, because that's always fairly risky in Bounty, since you might be taking a high amount of damage if you go on their side to try to track down a given opponent. But that being said, I did put one melee comp on here, the Poco, Rosa, and Jessie. It just has an insane amount of healing, an insane amount of hit points, that it's not too much of a disadvantage to go for kills with the Rosa or the Jackie, especially the Jackie. With your gadget, when you have that boosted speed, you can get in, get a kill, and get out, and stay alive that whole time because you're faster than all of your opponents. So that super tanky healing comp is also possible on this map, but a lot of long range brawlers and throwers are also going to be just as good. And that's gonna wrap it up for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and a comment down below if you did. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll know whenever I post super helpful guides just like this one. I post twice every week, Monday and Friday. Make sure you're there. Hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. But that's all for today, guys. So see you later.